All right, guys, I'm out here on Kentucky Lake. I'm going to talk real quick about the lake, the shape of the lake, what I've been seeing. If you followed along any of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit last week or the college kids, you know that the lake is alive and well. Man, it is incredible what some of those guys are doing out there with forward-facing sonar. And like it or not, I don't think it's going anywhere. It's here to stay. Unfortunately, it's exposed a lot of um, areas and places that maybe those fish kind of had to themselves. And I'm not saying it's exposed places that I like to fish, because I'll be the first to admit I learned a lot the last couple of weeks with those guys in town. I've seen them fishing places that I would have never dreamed to pull up and fish. A lot of the same areas that I fished, but they fished it completely different. And what's cool about that is to see those guys go out there and pick apart those areas with forward facing or perspective view, scout mode, whatever your brand is. But it's really encouraging to see the lake alive, and the quality of fish and the numbers of fish that's being caught. I talked to a lot of guys that were very encouraged by the smallmouth or the largemouth population, catching a lot of 2.5 pounders. I don't think the quality is there as far as the largemouth goes. Not saying you can't go catch some quality largemouth, because everybody knows there's still some here. It's just not the numbers like we used to have. But the numbers of 2.5 pound class of fish is just, it's incredible. You can take a shaky head or something to go down the bank. You can pull up into these pockets and flip if you can find some water that's high enough in the bushes that you can go and pitch around and catch some fish. Lot of things working right now. I'm back in a creek right now. You can see I pulled up in the shade here to shoot this, but back in these little pockets. I mean, water temperature is close to 70 degrees. We've had some cool nights, so it's kept it a little bit cooler. Out on the main lake, you're looking at that low 60s on those cool mornings, and it'll get up mid 65 or so, 66 degrees by the middle to the end of the day. A lot of quality, or a lot of numbers of largemouth being caught. Everybody knows that this time of year, I've said it and said it, some of the most fun you can have fishing for largemouth in the spring of the year is about 2-3 week window there, where water gets up in the bushes and you can go take you a little beaver style bait and flip. That's some fun, and I haven't spent any time doing it, but the next couple of weeks I'm probably going to do a little bit of that, just simply because it's a lot of fun doing that. You get a lot of bites. There are a lot of fish to be caught up there. You just don't catch a lot of big ones, and that's just because it's going to take some time to get that quality back. Numbers are good. Numbers are there. Numbers are good. It's just the quality, I don't think, is there right now. If you followed along the tournaments, you know that the smallmouth has been the dominant deal. Spawning smallmouth. They're spawning out on the main lake. They're spawning in these little pockets. And that's one cool thing about the forward facing that I saw is I think a lot of these fish have spawned in places that we didn't know they were spawning. Talking about largemouth too, there were a lot of largemouth that were caught, that were spawning, that were on the beds, that were just out off the bank. I think all these years we've been sitting on top of them, and that's what I was talking about. There was a lot of places that got exposed. It's really cool to see that. And we've always wondered where those smallmouth spawn. We had an idea that they spawned around gravel points or gravel banks, but there's a lot of fish that are on the main lake that spawn out there that never leave there. We've said that for years, even with the largemouth. They just never leave. They get out there and spawn on those bars or flats or whatever you want to call them in that 8, 10, 12-foot range. And you get out there with a number of baits. I didn't spend a lot of time on the water last week for the simple fact that there were so many boats on the water. But one bait that I throw a ton is a 5/16 Divine jig head. It's the swim bait head with a 3.2. Shad colors, any kind of chartreuse like that right there, especially on a cloudy day or if the water gets a little bit of color to it. Water does have a little bit of stain to it right now. I think the wind's been blowing for about 3 or 4 days, and it's just kind of got things churned up. But overall visibility, it's pretty clear. I mean, the water's pretty clean. But you can get up on those shallow flats and just cover water. Just cover water with a little swim bait like that. Another bait that I'll throw a lot is a jerk bait. Everybody knows that smallmouth love a small profile jerk bait. This is the 6 Sense Provoke DD. This is the 97 size. It's smaller. Any kind of shad color. There's a lot of cool colors, on the 6 Sense website or at your local shop there. You can check those out. A lot of people put this down really quick. I throw a jerkbait a lot, especially if conditions are right. You want some chop on the water, cloudy, overcast days. Those fish will come up off those beds and eat that bait. I mean, that's a bait that I love to catch them on a jerk bait, so I'll throw that a lot more than a lot of people do. They'll put it down as soon as the water starts warming up. And another cool bait, for covering water up there, and a lot of times those fish will show themselves. You may not necessarily catch them, but they'll come up and nip it. You can see that on your forward facing. This is the Dirty Jigs. This is the spinnerbait, the finesse spinnerbait that was released at the Classic this year. And I've got a 6 Sense jungle minnow on the back, just for a trailer. But it's that small profile bait, and you can take that thing. It's got fairly small blades on it. You can take that bait right there, burn it across those stumps out there on the main lake, burn it across, if some rock piles or whatever it may be, and you can catch some fish on that. And it's just one of those baits that you can cover water with. Also, I love to throw a swim bait. This is the Ignite Frenzy 4-inch on a 3/8 jig head. I throw that bait a ton. You can see that one right there. I think that is Kistler's Candy. And then another one I throw a lot is the Kentucky Lake Special. It's kind of that chartreusey blue purple back too. That's a really good bait to get out there and toss around this time of year. But if you followed along any of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit or the college kids, they caught a lot of fish on beds. They were out there catching a lot of fish on drop shots, Ned rigs, and that's one bait that it's all just happened in the last couple of weeks. I've caught several fish on shaky heads and Ned rigs out there, that are spawning around those stumps. But I'll talk just real quick about a few baits that I do like to throw. This is a Ned rig with the 6 Sense shindig on it. It's a green pumpkin. And then if you want something, if you're fishing around a lot of cover, you might want to tie on something with a weed guard on it. That is the same bait on a 6 Sense Divine Ned rig. It's got the little metal weed guard on it, and that's a great little bait to toss around shallow cover. Another bait that a lot of fish are being caught on is a drop shot, and this rose minnow, I think it's rose dust. Yeah, rose dust. Like a shaddy looking pinkish color. And then I always like to have a natural color too. You'll see those fish on the beds and you can pitch out there to them like a melon shad or something like that. It's just kind of a natural looking green pumpkin, watermelon-y looking bait. You can take that on a drop shot, pitch it around out there and catch some smallmouth as well. But I'll tell you, a lot of times the places that these guys will catch them, and a lot of places that we catch them out here in the spring months whenever they're spawning out there on the main lake, a lot of you guys that are coming in from out of town may not know what to look for. And you got to remember that a lot of these guys, myself included, I've got a ton of time and history on this lake, spending a lot of winter months out there and marking shallow cover and just finding those areas with the shallower water on it where those fish spawn at. So you may not necessarily know what to look for. If you're coming to Kentucky Lake right now in the month of April, going on into probably the middle of May, there's two baits that you can take anytime and catch fish. You can take what I was talking about earlier and go pitch shallow cover with some kind of pitching bait, like a 6 Sense prawn or a beaver style bait, and go catch them out of shallow cover. But if you want to get some bites, you take a shaky head like that right there. The cool thing about a shaky head is you can fish it around rock, you can fish it around stumps, you can fish it on the main lake, you can fish it in the pockets. You can fish that bait so many places. And this is the Divine shaky, the shaky worm, watermelon candy, and you can tell I bit it down a little bit. This bait floats, so it sits on the bottom and just kind of floats up. I take that bait right there and go in any of the shallow pockets that you can think of that you've ever caught a fish before. If you're not from here, just get in those shallow pockets where there's 12 foot of water out in the middle and just start throwing at the bank. The fish aren't going to be right up on the bank. They're going to be about halfway out to the boat. Those fish are spawning out there, and you're going to catch largemouth. You're going to catch this size largemouth. You're going to catch this size largemouth, and you're going to catch some smallmouth. And you'll also catch some of those quality smallmouth. There's a lot of fish that are spawning up around the bank. You don't have to get out in the main lake. If you're not familiar with the lake or where to go out there, on those places that a lot of those guys caught them last week, I know a lot of you guys probably watched the footage. You can catch these fish all up and down the bank right now. Take you a shaky head and just go cover some water, and you can have some fun out here. You can catch largemouth, smallmouth, everything. The bluegills, the big shell crackers, they're going to get going here before long. So it's springtime. Everything's finally greened up. Pollen's flying like crazy. Fish are biting. It's that time of year. I look over the years. I look at somebody like Andy Morgan. I've heard him say it time and time again. it's springtime. Fish are on the bank. You know, they're up close to the bank, and that that shaky head is a bait you can take anywhere in the country pretty much, but especially here on this lake. Just cover water and catch a lot of fish. Um, that's kind of it on the baits. When it comes to the smallmouth, like I say, I've not spent a lot of time largemouth fishing. That'll change here before long. I'm actually going to get up, spend some time fishing for largemouth here in the next couple of weeks, get in on some of that flip and bite. Um, but keep an eye out. I'll try to do a fishing report. I know I got a late start this year. I'll try to get one going here every few weeks at least. Kind of give you guys a rundown on what's going on. If you're in the area, be sure and come by High Tech Outdoors there on Highway 68. We've got all the baits that I talk about here, from 6 Sense to Ignite to we've got so many brands there of different baits there. A good selection of tackle now. We're doing the marine electronics. We do a lot of electronics installs there. The guys there at the shop are running circles right now. I can imagine. I've been on the water a good bit this time of year. This is kind of that time of year where, if you're in the fishing industry, you know, you're running all over the place right now. And but come check us out. Come to the shop there if you're interested in any kind of marine electronics. If you're interested in a fishing trip, electronics trip, whether it's with me, whether it's some of the crew there at High Tech, we got guys that do Garmin, guys that do Humminbird, and guys that do Lowrance. So come by, check us out. If you're interested in a fishing trip or an electronics class on the water over the next few weeks, shoot me an email at info@brandonhunterfishing.com, and I'll see you guys on the water.